Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode was brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play Team. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. Listeners should know that this podcast episode will include mature scenes and mature themes. This podcast episode uses the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game rules written by Matt Forbeck. All content, including names, places, companies, and etc., which may bear resemblance to entities living or dead, is strictly coincidental. And now, on to our show.
Thank you for joining us on the Old Ways podcast. My name is James, and tonight I will be your narrator for the Marvel Multiverse madness that is anger management. Tonight we have a spotlight episode in our series, and tonight's spotlight episode, in the chair opposite me, with a threatening look upon her face and opening and closing a switchblade, is
Morgan. I play Dakota Daniels, otherwise known as the Violet Vixen.
Violet Vixen. Oh, that's right. You had purple hair, purple eyes, if I recall correctly.
I do, and I fair skin, a little bit like Snow White.
And all of these features are bathed in the eerie glow that is the semi-functional fluorescent light above you as you sit on this uncomfortable metal folding chair. And you listen to, first, this young woman across from you who is talking about being a pizza delivery person. Fire, and then something else, and it's kind of hard to concentrate on. And then this guy with the clipboard decides that it's the guy next to you's turn to talk. Younger man who definitely is, we'll say, passionate about things, but the whole time you're thinking about what most people think about when they're at a large group of people and they know that it's going to be their turn to talk eventually, thinking about what they're going to have to say. You know that he's going to ask you the question, how'd you get here? How did this happen? As you look around this extremely kind of dark room, like there's not a lot of details other than the light cone that you're sitting, all the five of you are sitting in. You think about another time, a flash, another flash. You have to shake your head like a bear shakes away bees that are swarming. Your mind goes back to a very dark place that makes a word flash across your mind, which is Broxon. Instantly you feel your blood start to course through your veins. You go back a little bit to the last person who started talking about that cursed fucking business. He was a nice guy. So we cut back 2 weeks ago. It had been a really, really late night previous. You won about 3 matches, and the third guy seems like he maybe also was a meta, even if it was an unregistered, even in the circuit meta. He hit you with a couple of lefts and rights that really loosened some fillings. But you woke up, and any match that you wake up from the next day, your head doesn't look like a cauliflower. That's a good match. It's at least not a bad match. But what wakes you out of your deep and blissfully dreamless sleep is an incessant beeping next to your head.
I reach across and hit the nightstand and hear a bottle of bourbon falling off of it. It falls to the floor. And I grab my cell phone and open it.
It is a voicemail. It's from an unknown caller. Usually the spam calls don't leave voicemail. And this one is longer than just like the half second or second it takes for it to click and hang up. You open the phone speaker and voicemail. Hear a male voice on the other end. Hi, is this well, I guess I can't ask you any questions. Voicemail. That's stupid. Anyway, hey, okay, so listen, if you are interested in getting dirt on a group of people that we both sincerely hate, meet me at the Loop at a little coffee shop named Claire's at 10 a.m. I'll be the one who needs to brush his hair. And that's literally the entire thing.
Well, suppose I need coffee anyways. So, get up. What time is it now?
About 8:45. So you have about time to maybe get ready, get an Uber over. Or if you don't want to take an Uber, but you might just get there and you might be sweaty when you get there. Who knows?
Yep, I will call for an Uber. And while I'm waiting, I will jump in the shower and get ready and hastily throw on some jeans and combat boots and a flannel.
As you're getting out of the shower and putting on your clothes, put on your belt, you pull your pants on, put your shirt on, you start cinching your belt. Does Dakota have any pets?
Dakota does not, because Dakota can't even take care of herself.
Okay, wonderful. As you're walking through, you guess perhaps you bumped it with your elbow, maybe earlier, or maybe it was because of the rummaging through your dirty clothes, but a book is off of your end table and lands on the floor. The slam that it makes causes you to start upright. For a second, it sounded like some sort of a cell or a metal door closing. It felt very simultaneously extremely familiar, and you feel, unfortunately, even right after your shower, you are now suddenly bathed in a thin sheen of flop sweat. Lift a slightly shaken hand, run your fingers through the purple, which you will never get used to. It doesn't matter what dye you try to put into it, it runs out the next day. It's almost like your hair rejects the dye. At least it's a pretty purple. You throw on some shoes, jacket, out as your phone chimes one more time, this time just a notification to let you know your Uber is there.
I slam the apartment door behind me, inadvertently take the doorknob off.
Yep.
While I do it.
Not the first time.
Nope.
You gingerly put it back in the little hole and...
Whatever. I'll fix this shit later. Go downstairs.
All right. You get down to the pavement. It's a brisk morning. Obviously, you get into the back of this Uber. It's a small four-door electric vehicle. One of the new Richards Industries cars, because it makes almost no noise as it pulls away. They make really awesome electric vehicles. You can get a ridiculous amount out of one charge from the Richards vehicles. In short order, the driver delivers you to the appropriate address in the downtown loop. Business is already hustling and bustling as cars are zipping back and forth, and the L train goes by overhead. The clackety-clackety-clackety that you've come to know and in many ways love as you hear it go by. He pulls up outside of a little coffee shop called Claire's. It's more of a greasy spoon diner and less of a, cappuccinos and espressos.
My favorite, greasy spoon diners.
Hell yeah. Who doesn't like a good greasy spoon? I say that with all affection. I assume you head inside.
I look around outside first.
Oh, okay.
See if there's anything suspicious going on. I don't often get random phone calls these days like I used to.
Well, since you're taking a moment to look around outside, give me a vigilance roll, please, if you don't mind.
I received a 9 on that roll. I don't count my defense, right? Oh, do I count my non-combat checks, though?
Yeah, the non-combat checks is what you're adding to it. Yep.
So then I get an 11.
11? Okay. Nothing seems out of the ordinary or unusual. I mean, it is Chicago in the morning, so there's a guy just down the street wearing a cardboard sign that says, "The end is nigh," hollering unintelligibly while ringing an old bell, but you don't see anything that you would count as offensively odd. You step inside of the cafe, and the noise of the city drops away from behind you with a cheerful little ka-tingle. Woman looks up from behind the counter. "Seat yourself, ma'am. We'll be with you in a minute."
I immediately look around for the person with the messy hair.
You look around for a moment. You don't see an old bald guy, a couple of old people with crazy hair, and then there's one gentleman with his back to you that you could definitely describe as having an advanced, possibly permanent state of bedhead. He looks like he's hunched over a pile of paperwork, folder open. He's scribbling in a notebook. There's a carafe of coffee next to a cup of coffee that looks like, and a pile of empty creamer packets and sugar packets and a well-cleaned breakfast plate.
So he's been here a while. I look over at the lady behind the counter. Can I get a coffee over to that table? Or another cup over to that table, please?
Sure can. Be over in a second. And she slides you a cup.
Take it with me, and I slide myself in. Is he in a booth?
Mm-hmm.
Slide myself into the booth opposite to him and, grab his folder that he had in front of him and turn it around to myself.
He instinctively puts his hand on it, not forcefully, but firmly. And when he looks up and sees your violetness, I was hoping you would, of course. And he lifts his hand. Hi. Kind of sticks his hand out in that awkward handshake way. Thanks for coming. My name's Ted.
I just look at him.
He's disheveled. He's wearing a lime green button-up shirt that has maybe just a couple of small breakfast stains on it from today. They're new. He just doesn't look like he cares much as when he's eating and doing research. It happens. His hair is overgrown and definitely has not been combed in a long time. He's unshaven, not like beard so much as just maybe a couple days growth. He does have circles under his eyes, like he hasn't slept very well in a while. This, just at a quick glance, he's wearing a cheap watch. You realize as you're looking him over that the investigator part of your brain has started doing what you keep telling it not to do, but it's doing it anyway. You're reading this guy. He has a knapsack next to him that's old and battered, and a briefcase next to that looks like it carried a lot of this paperwork. And as you look down at the paperwork, the first thing that emblazoned across the top in the watermark is the Roxxon internal logo. This is an internal paperwork from Roxxon.
What does it say?
Well, this looks like it's advanced mathematics maybe, or notes about some sort of experiment, or all of the above. Both of those things. It doesn't make a lot of immediate sense to you what is written, but it looks like it's some pretty heady information that would be, you'd say, fairly vital to whoever did understand it. One of the other things you immediately notice is there's nothing redacted here. Not a single page in this file that you're quickly leafing through has any redactions on it.
I grab his coffee carafe and pour myself my own cup and pour a bunch of sugar in it. So, what am I looking at here?
He taps the top of the paper. He says, you can see who this is about, obviously. I try not to use their name in public just in case.
Yeah, I can read.
He's like, this is just one of the things that I found. One of the few that I could grab paperwork on. Apparently this is some sort of dimensional energy experiment. Make me an ego roll, please.
I got a 12.
You probably don't show it then, but that concept of hearing some Roxxon dimensional energy experiments, there's something about that sends a shiver right down into your core, like an icy cold hand reaches into you when he says those words. Fills you with a sense of dread, almost. You manage to quickly shake it off. He's poring over his papers at the moment. If he did notice, Ted does not make any outward sign. There's something here about a door, he says, or some sort of portal. With every word that he says, that feeling of dread builds just a little more, like you were climbing a set of stairs. And it's, it's powered by, they have to jumpstart it with local power. Local power, he jokes. In a way that's only funny really to him. But he says, but when it's open, it looks like this. And he pulls out another sheet, a diagram, and he puts it in front of you. And that's when that icy hand that had wormed its way into your chest wraps those clammy fingers around your heart and squeezes just a little. As you have seen that door, that device, that portal before. In your dreams, in your nightmares, and something says deep down that you've seen it in person. Ted continues, seemingly oblivious to what kind of emotional effect this is having on you, or a mental effect. He's like, but I don't know. I just don't think that they're just looking for energy in this case. I think maybe it's something else, something bigger. And I don't think we should have that kind of power. They should have that kind of power. Damn it. He kind of grimaces for a second. Make me another vigilance roll real quick.
14.
Oh, very good. As he says that, and your eyes focus on his stuff now, his shirt, you notice that there's a lanyard underneath the collar and a little corner of a badge pokes out from under his shirt just for a moment, but the investigator in you immediately picks up on the fact that there's a blue R in the corner of that badge. Very similar blue R on this top of this paperwork here.
I lean down and I'm gripping the side of the seat right with one of my hands. Are you fucking kidding me? You work for them?
Listen, when I started, they promised me a lot of stuff. He looks very embarrassed and ashamed. The things I have seen, I can't work for them anymore. And I'm trying to figure out a way to get out. And if I have enough on them, and he kind of pokes the paperwork with all of his fingers. If I have enough on them, then maybe I can get out of there, or at least disappear. They won't come after me. But that's why I called you. He looks up at you, and you, for the first time, really see the look of kind of, you won't say despair, but almost hopelessness that comes across his face. He's like, I don't think I can do it alone.
You walked out of that place with that paperwork. Did anybody follow you here? I immediately look around the restaurant for anybody out of the ordinary.
All right, give me a vigilance roll.
So I got my Marvel die. I got a 6.
Fantastic. Okay.
So does that mean I got a fantastic, or what is that?
If you roll a 1 on your Marvel die, you get a fantastic.
Listen, I really wanted just to be fantastic. Okay.
The way you can remember it is remember that Prime Earth in the comics, the Earth is 616. That's the best roll that you can get in the game. Is a 6, a 1 on your Marvel die, and a 6 on the other die.
Oh, okay. Nice.
That's actually how they say in the book how to best remember the best roll you can get. Is a 616.
That's actually good mnemonic to remember it.
Roll plus your vigilance non-combat score.
I got a 17.
With a 17, your attention immediately snaps into not just investigator mode, but possible defensive mode. And no one in here, they're not setting off any kind of red alarms or red flags. However, as your eyes focus through the front window past the L and Claire's, you do see that there is a black SUV with no plates outside. That originally you had thought maybe was just like a driver's plate, but you now see 4 people getting out of it. First out of the front seats and then out of the back seats. All 4 of them are wearing fairly inexpensive, nondescript black suits with white shirts underneath, and they're carrying very similar briefcases. While they don't look exactly the same, they all have roughly similar haircuts and are wearing sunglasses. Ted's face suddenly gets this intense look of worry. I didn't even think about I didn't see anyone, but oh no.
Ted, shut up for a second. I'm thinking. I grab all the paperwork that I have, and I roll it up and I shove it inside my coat that that I'm wearing.
Okay.
Do you have somewhere safe that you can go that's not in this state?
Yes. I got a cabin out in Barrington Woods. It's a little place that I do research sometime. It's on the corner of like a lake and kind of this marshy area. It's actually really pretty in the spring.
No, Ted. Ted, take it back a notch.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so Ted, do you own that land, or is it under somebody else's name?
It's under somebody else's name. It's
Perfect.
Nobody knows about it because it's an old park building.
Perfect. Go straight there.
Okay, I will. And he stands up and he looks at the rest of his paperwork.
I'll take that.
Okay.
I shove it in his briefcase or the back. Actually, I grab the backpack because I don't want to carry a fucking suitcase. And I shove it all in there. All right, let's go out the back door.
You notice he's holding like one other small satchel. I didn't get a chance to show you this. Okay. It's a piece of technology that they use for the dimensional stuff, but I don't have time to explain or anything. You take that. I'll keep this. I'm going to go. You get somewhere safe with that, okay? And I will send you a message later. Ping my phone, and you can find out where I'm at, okay?
But so can they.
I'm not good at this, he says as you guys are moving towards the back of the restaurant.
I will come find you out in Barrington Hills.
Okay. All right. Excellent. And he hits the back. He goes up through the kitchen as you usher him in. The short order cook kind of looks up at you. Hey, you guys aren't supposed to be back here.
Shut up. We're leaving.
He looks surprised and slightly offended. but you don't have time to really register how much, as you have already zipped out the back door. So you get out the back door, and do you continue along the back of the buildings, or do you take the alleyway out to the street? And which way do you push Ted? Because he kind of pauses at the door like he has never done clandestine work before.
I take him the opposite direction away from the front of the building. I will guide him towards getting the hell out of here in some distance.
Okay, wonderful. After some distance, you part ways and you give him the quick instructions to circle back to his car, and he does. He scampers off, holding it was in his jacket coat. There's kind of this lump in his left pocket. It's about the size of a thermos, but you don't really see any detail in it. It's just a large bulk in his jacket. He nods, and as he's about to scamper off, he turns, I can't thank you enough. He just smiles and then runs off. Very amateur to run.
As he's running off, I'm like, shit. Take your license plates off your car.
He throws up a thumbs up as over his back as he runs. You turn back the other way and see two gentlemen entering the alleyway on foot. They're wearing the black suits. Not exactly men in black. They just more look like peon businessmen that are trying to blend into a crowd.
Hey, fellas.
One of them stops. Excuse me, ma'am. Did you see a gentleman with an attaché case that looked a lot like that one there that you have? But he kind of a frizzy hair gentleman who works with us. We'd like to ask him a few questions.
No, it was just me popping a squat back here.
He continues to walk towards you. The other one that falls into step right behind him isn't doing at all a job of hiding the fact that he's puts his hand into his suit coat pocket. And the one that's walking towards you's hand comes up and starts to slide into his jacket pocket, Napoleon style, as if he were going for like a side holster. Maybe I'd like to ask you a few questions as well, if you don't mind, ma'am. If you could just come with us.
Oh, I'm not coming anywhere with you.
Your senses being slightly heightened, you hear at the other end of the alleyway the footsteps of someone else, and you see that there's another one of these gentlemen in the suit at the other end of the alleyway.
Wonderful. I jump as one of my powers. Jump one, and then so the character gains the jump movement mode with a jump speed equal to their run speed. They can jump this distance in any direction, vertically as well as horizontally.
Exactly.
So my run speed is 5. So what does that equate to?
That means that you can leap 5 squares into the air. You could move 5 squares in one round, and each square is roughly like 5 feet. So you can leap about 25 feet into the air.
Well, that's probably smaller than the building next to me.
Oh yeah, the building next to you is a 2-story building, so that would get you up onto the roof. You look around the alley as they walk towards you. You see that there's a dumpster here, a couple of old overflowing garbage cans, basically just a couple old boxes, old restaurant garbage.
Focus resets every session, right?
Yes, it does.
I'm going to do clobber on the guy closest to me. It's 5 focus. Close attack on an enemy. Fantastic success equals double damage. Makes a close attack against the enemy. If the attack is a success, the enemy takes regular damage. On a fantastic success, the enemy takes double damage as a knocked prone.
Yep, 5 focus.
And then to roll for that, am I rolling agility or?
That would be melee. You add your ability score to the roll.
I was looking at the under the abilities.
So you add whatever your M score is. I love how the stats spell Marvel.
So it's my Marvel die times my multiplier. So it would be...
Multiplier should be a minimum of your rank, and then any else.
11.
Fantastic. You clobber the first one. Can you describe the nature of the clobber?
As he's reaching into his coat pocket to grab out whatever weapon he thinks he's going to grab out, I will take my left fist and just immediately smack him across the head with it.
Ooh, okay. And you are, I assume, not really pulling any punches because you
No.
can pretty much assume that these are Roxxon employees?
Yes.
All right. His head snaps to the side and his body collides with the brick wall next to you. There is a cacophony of various crunches as not only do His bones break when he hit, but the bricks of the wall also break as some of him goes in through the wall. And you don't even really make eye contact with him when you do it. You just make eye contact with the other gentleman. He, being much slower than you, pulls his weapon, which is a revolver, pops off one shot at you. What is your agility defense score?
My agility defense score is 12.
The bullet ricochets off of the wall next to you, fairly close to your head. He is obviously stunned that you have just dispatched the man that was next to him with such ease. In fact, you're a little stunned that you dispatched the man next to him with such ease, but hey, he should have worked for someone else.
Yep, I step over the guy that I knocked to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You're next, big boy.
He's standing fairly stalwart in the face of these terrifying odds. The gentleman behind you, there is an impact like a fist in the back right shoulder. You feel like you have been punched hard, and that is definitely going to bruise for a very short time as sounds like a firecracker goes off behind you and your right shoulder is forced forward as this gentleman shoots you in the back. Don't think the bullet penetrates. It seems like it's a fairly small caliber weapon. Hurts though.
I turn around and look at the guy that just shot. Fucker, I just bought this coat.
Now it has a hole in it. He seems stunned and takes a momentary step back. He's never shot anyone and had them turn around and make a critique on their shooting and or not be dead. You already feel a deep and painful itch going through that area that it now feels to be about the size of a baseball as your body already starts to feed this crackling purple energy into the area and knit whole what was apparently bruised the shit out of.
Yeah, I'm close enough to the second guy now. I am going to actually use quick toss on him.
Okay.
And toss him back to the other guy.
I love it. All right, you're going to fastball special him into the other guy?
Mm-hmm.
Make me a quick toss then, yes, please.
And so that's going to be a throw or a ranged attack. So that would be 15.
Fantastic. Okay, so they each take 15 damage. And in this case, you hear the two sacks of meat collide with a heady thud and a wheeze between one of them makes a sickening wheeze sound as they both slam into the wall next to them. You stand alone in the alleyway.
Feeling pretty good. Feeling limber.
Except for that shoulder pain that you're going to have for a little while. But it's already hurting less, and you look down and see that it was indeed a fairly small caliber handgun, which is nice because you're not sure that you would have shrugged off a shot larger than that. You put a thumb through the back of the jacket where it's hit. You pick up the squashed slug. You think about a time long ago before these assholes came into your life when you couldn't shrug off a small caliber slug. You don't know what they did to you, but sometimes things like this make you feel slightly less human. And you take a moment, look at the satchel of paperwork that's hanging from you, and what do?
Are both those guys on the ground?
Oh yes, all three of them are on the ground.
And are they unconscious or are they?
Two of them are unconscious. The one that you smashed through the wall, you think he's probably dead.
Oh, whoops. I tossed the crushed bullet over to them and kick one in the stomach.
Ooh. Yeah. You probably don't even do it that hard, realizing that you could cut him in half with your foot on accident. So it's more of a nudge, but for him, he reacts like as if you had kicked him fairly hard. There's an unconscious muffled ease as you kick him and step over him and out into the sunshine of the street.
As I walk away, thank your boss for these sweet superpowers.
All right. Where are you headed?
I'll go back to my apartment / former office.
Okay. You head back to your apartment, former office, and head inside, and you see the building maintenance guy reaffixing a doorknob to the outer door that you had originally crushed. Or not crushed, but pulled the handle off of. He gives you a slow nod. Not as in greeting, but as in, I know what you've done to my poor doorknobs. This is not the first time you've gotten this slow nod from the maintenance guy.
Oh.
gingerly step around him.
I don't know what's going on with those doorknobs. You might need to find a different manufacturer.
Didn't have this problem before you moved in.
Oh, Jim Bob, you know that's a lie.
You head up to your door, lock it behind you, and feel that sense of calm of being in your own domicile wash over you. I mean, you know that these doors are only going to keep so much out, but there's more of a sense of your own surroundings.
Yep, I sit on the folding chair that I have in the card table that is my desk and start spreading that paperwork out while I pour myself a glass of whatever's left in the vodka bottle that I had on the floor.
All right, there's not, I mean, there's some left, enough for 3 fingers. With your fortunate metabolism, won't do much, but hey, at least it's something.
Yep.
You pour yourself a drink and toss half of it back right off the top. Top it back off with what's left in the bottle. Start looking over this paperwork here. As you're looking back over it, you look further into the designs of what's going on here, and some of these things seem very familiar somehow. And not good familiar, almost painfully familiar. No good memories are popping up here. Shake your head a few times, try to clear your head to focus on what's in front of you. All you can feel is being bound into something, like straps across your body, holding you fixed, almost like an EMT's board, but more like maybe clamps. Your mind reels a little. You haven't thought about this for a long time now.
I'm gripping my glass hard enough to crack it.
Oh, yes. You see the shards and the ice and the vodka all fall to the floor, seemingly in slow motion. And as you see it fall, you also feel a falling sensation. Not that you yourself are falling, but you have to reach out and steady yourself with the counter as you are suddenly pushed into a memory. Flashback, this one more substantial. It's seeing these papers has brought it back to you. You feel hands strapping you to this board. Voice talking about how the subject was prepped and ready to go. And this door in front of you, that damn purple door, begins to spark with violet energy that you can almost not see because it's almost outside of the spectrum. And as this portal opens, you feel that whatever board you're on starts to get drawn towards the portal. It's drawing you in. You hear various voices say that the subject was on track and about to extend into the portal. And you feel your heart begin to race as you are approaching. This purple light dissipates from the center of this portal, revealing just an inky blackness and a howling as you are pushed to the edge of this precipice. You crane your neck around and look behind you, and this board has a thick, woven cable attached to the back of it. And for a second, you wonder why, but then the board that you're on gets lifted off of the thing that is holding it at the edge of this portal, and you get sucked into the portal itself. The sickening sensation of gravity shifting as you're not being pulled horizontally anymore, you're falling, and at an ever-increasing rate. You're traveling extremely hard time figuring how far you fall, but it's 30 or 40 seconds before you're jerked to a stop. It feels like your fillings are going to get yanked out of your mouth as the board comes to a halt. You twist in this space, this darkness. You can crane your head around, and just off in the distance, see a little white speck of light behind you. And that's when your senses start to reel around you, and you feel energy crackling over you from this void, from this blackness that you, looking back as the sweat falls off of you and into this void, you look and realize that tether, that metal cable, is the only thing keeping you attached to your own reality. You look and you see the scientists on the other side of the portal, but they're stock still, mid-motion. One scientist has his foot in the air mid-step, and as you watch painfully closely, you see that foot is slowly falling down through the air, the natural arc of walking. You can interrupt me with any questions, of course, you have at this time. You are semi-lucid during this memory.
I'm seeing the scientist behind me?
Yep.
So, like, time is at a stop?
Almost like the time where you're at is going at a different rate than the time on the other side of the portal.
But there's nothing but blackness around me?
Yep. That you can see at the moment.
Oh, can I call out?
You remember calling out.
Hello? Help?
You hear it. It's not muffled. It's just as if it's being swallowed by the darkness. And then distantly, it's hard to say if there's a distance because there's nothing to compare it to. But off in the darkness, there's something else to focus on other than that white rectangle of hope that the tether is coming out of that says that there's another beautiful world that you belong in. But at the opposite of that, there's something in the darkness moving. You don't know if it's close and it's very small, or if it's distant and it's incredibly large, but it does seem to be coming towards you. And you don't hear it with your ears so much as you feel it with your ear bones, and you feel it in your soul. But something says your name in a voice that's too deep to audibly hear, but it rattles your teeth. Dakota. You don't know how far away it is, but it is not far enough away for your tastes. And after what seems like an eternity of this sensation that whatever it is getting closer to you, you feel another beautiful sensation of being pulled backwards, up out of this well of darkness. And finally, gravity reorients and you are pulled back into the now acidically bright laboratory that you were in, strapped to this board. The scientists around you, their eyes are wide. A couple of them, their mouths are agape.
Yeah, I'm definitely struggling trying to get out.
Oh, yes. As you struggle to get out, you remember hearing a creak and a pop as the strap on one side of the board easily snaps open. All you have to do is lift your arm. You're like, well, that was easy. Maybe it's something about being in that portal. You lift your leg, and there's just the slightest shimmer of purple energy across your calf as you lift your leg, and it easily snaps the restraint. Alarms start going off in this room as scientists start scrambling backwards out of your range, your reach, if you will.
Oh, and I'm angry.
So do you begin taking the chunks of the table that are still attached to you and using them as a weapon?
Oh, yes. Yep, then swinging it.
The portal is still open, and to you at this moment, it looks like an angry mouth, if you will, as you pick up a scientist and you're holding him. It seems only fair, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, I'm tossing him in the portal.
He hits the ground right in front of it and looks at you and screams, "No!" He gets sucked into it and his voice is cut off. You don't see him in the portal, it's just darkness now. There's part of you that almost feels like you should shudder, but you don't as you pick up another scientist and he realizes with dawning horror what his immediate fate is going to be.
Yep, I toss him too. You deserve it.
Yep, as you toss him in, his body bounces off of a piece of equipment and he flies into the portal, but shortly after it shorts out and closes. Part of his leg doesn't make it all the way through and just lands on the ground smoking with disgusting purple smoke that wafts off of it. It smells like burnt dog hair. A door behind you opens as 3 or 4 or 5, there's a lot of these guys, these security guards, begin filing in with weapons. In your memory, you remember, much like you did in the alleyway, you look up and see that there's a skylight here. Purely decorative, of course, but you don't think that glass is very strong. If you could figure out a way to get up there, and then you look down at the pieces of table that are attached to you that you effortlessly snapped like balsa wood. And
I make sure the table's not connected to me anymore.
Nope.
And I superhero pose that bad boy and jump.
All right, you immediately are carried up through the glass. You remember it shattering across your back as you land on your couch, no longer in your memory, but you're now laying in your apartment. Bits of broken glass now laying on the floor around you and the smell of precious spilled vodka. You don't know how long you've been laying on this couch now. It's hard to tell that time is weirdly dilated when you have these episodes. But it is the most intense one that you've had in a while, the most complete one. You haven't thought about a lot of these things in quite a while.
I find a piece of paper and I write it down what the memory was.
You grab a notebook, quickly scribble down these memories here.
And then I pick the folding chair up off the floor and set it back down in front of the folding table and sit down again to look at this paperwork that Ted has given me. Because at some point I will need to go out to Barrington Hills and go look at that object.
As you're looking through the paperwork that this Ted guy dropped in your lap, you're looking over it. It's definitely a lot of jargon that you don't quite get because a lot of it is very in-depth science. But if you want to make me a logic roll to see what you can kind of glean from it on a technical level.
I got an 18.
Wow, 18. Holy crap. Okay. For time that you spent at Roxxon and your time that you have studied to be an investigator since then, you've picked up a lot more science and math than you anticipated, because a lot of this actually does seem to make quite a bit of sense to you. The portal seems like a rift to not another dimension, if you're reading this right, but to a space between the other dimensions. They reference here, if this research can be believed, they reference that there are multiple other dimensions that have been referenced. You see an IE references to a darkness dimension, a dimension of magic, and there are subheadings of various codename magic quantum source users, as they call them. Roxxon seems to believe that all of these different dimensions all float as bubbles, essentially, and that the space between them in itself is a type of energy, and that they have figured out a way to harness and store that energy, that what they call it a between nexus state, or an end state. As you delve into it a little more, you realize that the device that Ted was carrying almost has to be an energy containment unit of some of this extra dimensional energy. But it seems very, very dangerous from what little you understand. It seems like if it was unbalanced or if it was breached, that the results would be extremely chaotic and you wouldn't have no idea. It could be a bomb, it could be a black hole, it could be turn people into confetti. You don't know.
Hooray, it's a parade.
Everyone loves a parade.
They do. Do I have any, scientist friends or anything?
Other than Ted?
Well, we're not friends.
Well, that's true. That's true. Let me think. Do you have any other scientist friends? You have a couple of science people that you know out at UIC that work out at the just revamped Fermi Labs area. Richards Industries actually just donated several $1 billion to the Fermi Labs to update its particle accelerator research area. And it is now a almost state-of-the-art system. And you know a couple of people out there, there was a guy out there that he utilized your services to see if his wife was in fact cheating on him. She was. Nice guy. His wife, also nice. They just didn't work out and it got messy, but you got paid, so you didn't really care that much.
Yeah, so I pull up Dan's number on my phone.
Pull up Dan's number and hello, this is Dan.
Hey, Dan, this is Dakota.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Dakota. What's going on? Is it related to that thing? Dan helped after you had first acquired your powers, that energy that infused you. He helped you kind of, in a safe setting, research a little bit what you could and could not do, since you didn't really have a secret identity per se.
Maybe. Do you have time to stop over at my place to take a look at some things with me?
Yeah, give me a couple hours. I gotta finish up here and I'll be right over. You still live in the same place?
I do.
All right, I'll be there in a little bit. He hangs up. Your stomach rumbles as you realize that all you've had to consume today is alcohol. You throw some fries in the air fryer on the countertop. While you are eating and such, there's a knock on your door. It looks like he had rushed it up, so it was only been about an hour. He's standing there. You notice that he is freshly shaved with a fairly nice shirt on. He steps in when you open the door. Hey, Dakota. Yeah, so what did you need?
Kind of glance at him. Hey, take a look at this paperwork on the table. Tell me what you think.
He, after a moment or two, spreads some papers out, and the more he looks, the more he's kind of pushing them around. Wow, this is some really intense stuff here. Where did you get these? Oh, taps the top of the paper. Oh, I see. Oh, no surprise. You know, they are sniffing around us all the time, trying to get us to do work for them. It's ridiculous.
I would stay away from them with 10-foot pole, maybe like a 20-foot pole.
Yeah, no, these guys are bad news. We hear it all the time in the scientific communities about how... Anyway, and he kind of pushes it in. Let's just say I don't like these guys. Yeah, it looks like some sort of energy transference device or energy rift device. Oh.
So theoretically, if somebody had one of those and had some of the energy from one of those in between places, what can you do with that? Like damage level?
Well, here it would definitely cause damage to the local space-time. I mean, we're not talking catastrophe on a global level or anything, but I wouldn't want to be near it, that's for sure. It looks like it changes things on a molecular and even sometimes atomic level here. It could cause any sorts of things. I mean, he kind of chuckles darkly. Cancer would be probably the best thing you could hope for.
So if somebody wanted to do good with this energy, what could it do?
I mean, if you figured out a way to use it properly, you could probably power almost anything with it, and for quite a while. And if you could figure out a consistent way to pipe energy out of that, wherever he kind of taps an equation, wherever this is, well, I mean, theoretically, it could be an infinite source of energy, I suppose, but he points at another part of the equation, and all of this part is just nonsense to you. He's like, this right here is dangerous, though. It looks like there's a building force that eventually would rupture the whole membrane.
The membrane of the container?
No, he pats the table and like kind of points, kind of waves his finger in a circle in the air. I mean like the whole thing. So the membrane, it would be considered to be reality. We would live on the membrane. So, I mean, I guess technically if they did it on a large enough level, yeah, this could easily just tear reality apart. Whatever that building force is would eventually rupture reality and would supplant our own. In your head, you hear that deep rattling voice of that whatever it was that was traveling across the void towards you.
Shit. I gotta get to somebody.
Oh.
I'm not gonna say his name because I don't want to put you in any more danger than I've already put you by having you look at these papers.
He kind of frowns a little. He's like, are you going to be okay?
Well, actually, do you have a car?
Yeah, of course I have a car.
Can you give me a ride out to Barrington Hills?
Sure. Yeah, not a problem. He pulls his keys out of his jacket pocket. Come on. You seem like you're in a hurry, so let's go. Walks you down to his car. He gestures to his vehicle. It's kind of a moderately priced vehicle. It has seen better days. Sorry, it's a little junky inside. Kind of bushes some stuff off of the passenger seat. It smells like interior car cologne and old food a little bit in here. Yeah. He does not keep it very clean. I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of passengers. You get in and he sets up the GPS. Where are we going?
I don't know what's out in Barrington Hills. We're going to Clear Lake in Barrington Hills.
Okay. Yeah, out in the park. Okay, cool. Starts driving. You drive for about 40 minutes through traffic and whatnot, and then you reach the entrance of the park. You drive for another maybe 5-10 minutes through this back parts of the park. You eventually reach an old metal gate that you're pretty sure is what you're looking for, as it looks like it was opened and closed recently, and you see fairly fresh tire tracks that lead down the dirt road that go that way. But it looks like it's closed up with a chain and a padlock.
Shit. Damn it, Ted. All right, I guess this is my stop. Well, actually, I'm going to go rip the padlock off.
You, for a moment, you're like, damn it, it's locked. And then you look down at your hands and the purple fingernails. And you're like, oh, right. So you get out of the car and walk over and grab it. Takes just a moment or two. You wrap the chain around your hand and eventually just snap the lock off of it. The driver's side door opens and Dan steps out a little bit, kind of half steps out. Do you want me to stay?
Might as well.
I'll hang here. You call if you need me.
So is it not a driving path? Is it?
It's wide enough for a car, but it looks like it's kind of overgrown. But you do see that there's, as you head up this way, you push the gate open, you do see that there are broken branches and such. It looks like it's overgrown, but has been freshly driven through. Make me a vigilance roll.
Get an 11?
You do see that there's, as you said, that there is a vehicle that has driven up this way. The tire tracks are a little indistinct, as a lot of it is grass and not dirt, but you definitely see that there is at least one set of tracks. You quick step, I assume, or are you going to get back in the car and have Dan drive you up?
No, I have the chain still from the gate, so I am going to quick step it up the path.
Okay. It's just a 2 or 3 minute walk as you head up this path and around the corner, and you see behind a small copse of trees, there's a little cabin on the edge of, sure enough, as Ted described it, on the edge of a lake that turns into a marsh on one side. In the marsh a little bit on stilts is a small, looks like maybe a 2-room cabin. It looks like it was built sometime in the 60s, perhaps. It's not ramshackle per se, but it's definitely not new. You see that there's moss growing up certain parts of it. There is a small light on, but that's not what concerns you. What concerns you is that there are 2 vehicles here. One of them is a older, beat-up car the kind of vehicle that you would expect Ted to drive. Probably not particularly expensive because he doesn't make that much money. The other one is a vehicle of a type that you have immediately seen earlier today, which is a black nondescript SUV 4-door with no plates. The driver's side and passenger side front doors of the SUV are open.
So is it just the front 2 or is all 4 doors open?
Just the front 2.
Okay, good. It's less people. Do I see anybody outside?
Make me one more vigilance.
14?
14, very good. From your slightly crouched, covered position, because I assume you didn't just walk up whistling like Andy Griffith.
No, no.
You look out and you do see that there is one gentleman standing outside of this cabin on a little porch area. He is a rag. He's holding it in his right hand and he's wiping something off his left hand while smoking a cigarette. He takes the cigarette out of his mouth, takes a drag, puts it back in, and starts wiping something off of his other hand.
I can probably infer what that is, having done that myself.
With a sinking feeling, you know exactly what he's wiping off his hands as your ears pick up on the sound of somebody punching a side of beef and a low groan.
So I'm going to run along to the side of the car to their SUV.
Okay.
Is it parked further back from the cabin?
It is.
In front of the cabin, but
yeah, a bit further back. Yep.
And how close is that to the front porch? Or the front of the cabin?
30, 40 feet.
And it's pretty dark out, or?
Quite.
Yeah, so I am going to try to rush the guy on the porch.
Okay.
When he's facing away towards...
Okay. You take your time to wait for him to look away from you before you rush him. Make me an agility roll.
I got a 20 on that.
Okay, so he does not see you coming. You come out of the darkness like a whisper. You have your hands on the sides of his head and one around his neck before he can move. That coppery smell that's coming off of him and off of that handkerchief he was holding confirms what you were worried about, as there's more sickening punching sounds coming from inside. He is incapable of making a sound, and with just the slightest bit of effort, you would make him incapable of doing anything else ever again.
And I do that.
The man's neck snaps, and you drop his body to the floor. You are now standing outside the door of the cabin.
Is it open? I'm like, is it standing open?
No, it's not standing open. It's open just a crack enough for light to come out.
I will shove the door open loudly, slamming it open.
With force?
Yep.
Since you hit it with force, it comes right off the hinges as you push the door bodily into the room. It slams to the ground. The guy that's inside spins around on one heel. He's got rag tied around his hand to make it into a tightly packed fist. And it seems between him and the other guy, they have been working Ted over for quite a while now. Ted is not looking good. He is looking in extremely poor health. The door collides with this guy, who collides with Ted. The old rickety chair that Ted is on smashes underneath him as his ropes are loosened. The guy unsteadily gets to his feet and begins to advance on you, reaches into his coat and pulls out a fairly large survival knife.
Yeah, I have the chain around my my hand, I unfurl it and I whip it at him while holding it.
Make me an attack roll. Make me a melee attack. I'm going to give that a damage multiplier bonus of +2 because you have the piece of chain with the padlock still on it.
So am I rolling damage for this because I tossed it at him?
You are rolling an attack first, a melee attack first.
I only get a 9.
That is actually enough to hit him because he's not wearing any armor and he's standing right in front of you. The lock end, as you swing the chain, collides with the side of him, and he lets out an oof sound as he attempts to strike you with the knife. Damage, by the way.
So I get 27?
Yeah. So he doesn't really hit you in as much as the lock collides with the side of his neck, and he stumbles towards you. As he's stumbling towards you, or his other hand comes out of his coat, and you see that he has something that's blinking in his hand. It's about fist-sized, and it drops to the ground in front of you. It's cylindrical and metal. It says Roxxon on the side of it and starts making a high-pitched whining sound. The guy, as he looks at you and starts having a hard time breathing because you seem to have crushed the side of his neck, grins a bloody smile at you as this grenade device, that high-pitched whine the light starts to blink over the course of the next second or so as everything seems to be happening in slow motion.
I rush and grab Ted and pick him up.
Okay.
And then turn to carry him out of the house.
Okay. Ted is clutching something as you pick him up, so you almost have to pick him up like a baby almost, or throw him over your shoulder. Yeah, literally like that.
Bridal style?
Yep, like bridal style,
yes.
yeah. And you get to the door when the air rushes past you and the world goes white for a moment. Make me a resilience roll, please.
I got a 14.
Okay. You manage to you're not injured as the force of this explosion lifts you up off of your feet. And that's saying something because you're not exactly the lightest person out there. It's part of that whatever happened, it made you more dense. You feel Ted's body lifted out of your hands by the explosion, and the white of the night sky briefly twists into darkness as you land with a squelch in the mud. Your ears are ringing, your head is spinning violently, and you hear someone yelling at you. You feel hands on you as your vision clears. You look up and Dan is crouched down next to you. He looks down at you and he's shouting something and pointing. Your head lolls to the side and you see Ted stumbling to his broken, obviously one of his legs is partially broken. His arm is out of place and he's holding this device that you've seen only in the schematics. And it, much like the device that was in the cabin before, is also making as your ears are starting to, it's making a humming sound. And the light blinks twice, and there's a secondary explosion. If you'd call it an explosion, the energy in this container detonates and knocks Ted 20, 30 feet backwards into the swamp. Purple and green flames erupting from his very flesh as he bounces twice, and the flames don't stop when he sinks into the mud. They are bubbling up out of the mud. Ted is screaming every time his face breaches this swamp. And after the second or third time he breaches, it sucks him down into the swamp and the flames finally stop burning. Just steam and this thick smell, a mixture of fetid swampland and burnt human flesh and other smells that sit on the tip of your tongue and on the back of your sinuses like metal. Dan's shaking hand helps you sit up as your purple energy crackles over you from the explosion and seems to sink into your body. You feel okay. You feel all right. In fact, you feel better after that energy wafts over you. You look at the now floating form out in this marshy nastiness that is smoldering and wafting.
Dan helps me up. I immediately curl over and puke all over the place from the smell and everything.
You absolutely do. And you feel Dan's shaking hand and you having a hard time hearing what he's saying, but he's saying something about that you don't think he's going to survive. You don't think anyone could survive that.
Can I just croak out to him? We have to go.
Dan agrees and helps you to his car. With a silent drive back, he drives you to your apartment. You barely have enough energy to climb the stairs. He offers to help you, but you just kind of push him away and climb the stairs into your room. Lock the door behind you. You look down as you're spattered with mud and filth and little bits that, as you realize with dawning horror, might have once belonged to Ted. The name Roxanne just echoes through your mind, screaming and emblazoned in rage that they have taken yet another person introduced to you. And with that, the person next to you in the group on this uncomfortable metal chair in the darkness, elbows you just a little bit on accident, and it pulls you out of your deep mental revelry. The older guy next to you that is identified as Frank, he seems to be half paying attention to what's going on here and half paying attention to the room, his eyes darting around. And as you start to dart around, your eyes start to look around the room into the darkness. As you're having a hard time picking out any details about this room. You also don't really remember how you got here. Anyway, must be court-appointed, right? And with that, I'm going to bring this episode to a close. Thank you, Morgan, for joining me on this issue of Marvel's multiverse madness called Anger Management. I would like to thank all of our listeners. I would like to thank our Patreon members especially, because without you, a lot of this would not be nearly as easy or as possible as it is currently. And I would hope to see you next time for issue number 5. Thank you and good night.